talking. Oh gosh, this hasn't been recording. Well, hold on a second. One problem, one aspect is you go outside of Beis Hamikdash. The other thing is that another thing that is again sort of a bit bizarre. It kind of it can purify the impure, but funnily enough, the people who are involved with preparing it, they become impure. The pure people can become impure.
How do they get pure again?
Well, how do they get pure again? They have to themselves presumably go through a series of.
So there's always someone who's going to be impure.
Yes. No, but it's a different level of impurity. It's a different level of impurity. I don't believe that it's not that they have the same impurity, and I think that they can resolve that impurity with just a minor form like going to mikveh or something like that. I'm sorry? It is recording. It is recording, but I just turned it on. Yeah. So here basically we come to the idea that really when it comes to another person, you see, how do you tap in to the ability that Hashem can purify completely? How do we tap into it? We do what the Torah, you have to kind of go out. When a Jew goes out of his own spiritual, when he goes out of his own spiritual four amas, his own area, his own comfort zone, and he goes to help another Jew, even at the risk of himself becoming Tomei, he's pure. He goes out to help another Jew. He may go on the streets and try and help put on tefillin or something. He may go to a prison to help him, to inspire him, to help him. He may go to a hospital to help the person. Whatever he's going to do, he's going to go out to help that other person become more spiritual, more holy, more religious. Well, he's sort of, in a sense, putting himself in spiritual risk of becoming Tomei himself. He's holy. He could be sitting and learning, could be sitting and davening, but he goes out. He goes out of the camp, just like the Paradum. When a person can do that, when they go out, that is the way, and that is, in a sense, the greatest achievement of all, which is interesting because today it fits in very nicely with Hayom Yom today. Today's Hayom Yom suddenly talks about Avraham Avinu, and in Bereshit about why Hashem loved Avraham Avinu so much. Amazing. I was wondering why is that could do with Parshas Kukas, and now I understand, based on what we just mentioned. In Hayom Yom it says, what was the greatness of Avraham Avinu? Well, of course, we all know he went through lots of tests. But the verse is actually why. The verse actually says why does Hashem loves Avraham Avinu. The man is bonov is based Achra. He will command, and command in Chassidus means to connect. Yes, mitzvah is the idea of connection. So he will connect his children, his family. He's connecting other people to Hashem. That was the greatness that Hashem loved in Avram more than anything. More than anything. With all the great achievements of his tests and being thrown into the fire and everything, okay, and having to offer up Yitzhak, the fact that he was connecting his children to Hashem, this is the greatest thing, connecting other people. So this fits very nicely with those that when a person goes out of their own comfort zone to help somebody else come closer, connect them to Hashem. Whoa, that's pretty. Then you can reach to the highest levels where Hashem, when it doesn't matter. Tumah, Tahara, Hashem can take care of it. Just like that. Just like that. No problems asked. No problems. Okay? So this is just a little bit of some of the insights of the idea of the Paradum. Okay? Right. Let's move on a little bit. I noticed that nobody's actually come online, which seems to imply there's something again doesn't seem to be working. I don't know why people can't seem to get. Yeah, there's nothing I can do. There's an ongoing issue. You can't get online. It's very strange because last week.
Denise also has.
Yeah, I don't know. I do not understand.
Zoom was stopping after every 40 minutes. They won't allow longer ones.
No, but I have a subscription.
Oh.
We have a subscription. So if you have a subscription, that's the free version. The free version is 40 minutes. I pay a monthly subscription. Anyway, okay. So let's move on now. I want to discuss something that is, of course, pretty tough and challenging. The Parsha that we all discuss this is, of course, the downfall of Moshe Rabbeinu. In terms, when I say downfall, in the sense that he was in this week's Parsha, which is it discusses on page 994. There are basically three verses, okay, 10, 11, and 12, that are really pretty tough verses that are just sort of sneaked in, and there's this horrible sadness of the downfall of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's interesting, everything you see is in the Torah. The fact that Moshe Rabbeinu is now, in a sense, demoted, and the fact he will no longer be able to take the Jewish people into the land of Israel. It's just interesting, isn't it, that our Prime Minister has just, you were just thinking, yeah, it's just funny that, whoa, of all the times that this should happen, I mean, if it happened altogether, but to happen in this, it's very interesting. He did have, by the way, Jewish ancestors. Not that he was Jewish, but his grandparents on his father's side, I believe, were Jewish.
Didn't help him.
Well, it might have helped him become Prime Minister. He was mayor.
Yeah.
No, it didn't help after a while, obviously. Pardon?
Yeah.
He has resigned. He has resigned as of this morning.
He did.
As of this
Oh,
morning.
I thought he was holding on to it.
No,
but still this morning.
No, he resigned.
They thought of preparing a letter, but to be announced later.
No, he has resigned, or he is about to resign. It is now. He is resigned. Has he actually gone? He is resigned. Yeah, something like that.
40 minutes.
Okay. Well, that is be that as it may. It's just everything is like Banashkrop Protes. Everything it's in the Torah as well. Sometimes you see it. Whoa, like you live with the times. So I guess he's a makusha. He's.
He wasn't.
I'm sorry.
He wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu. So.
No, he's not Moshe Rabbeinu. But he is nevertheless. I'm saying everything comes from the Torah.
I know.
And all I'm saying is
relating about Moshe Rabbeinu to Boris Johnson.
Because that's the whole point. What I'm trying to say is, since everything is in the Torah,
Right.
some people say, the Torah is just about Judaism, about Jewish things. It's not about the world, what goes in the world.
Okay.
Well, nothing to do with Judaism. No, I'm saying, and the Torah says, everything in the Torah is related, that the Torah runs the world. Hashem runs the world through the Torah.
I'm just wondering what particularly about Moshe Rabbeinu hitting the rock has to do with Boris Johnson.
Oh, so what I was trying to explain, trying to explain, because Moshe Rabbeinu was, I say demoted. He still became was still the leader.
Right.
But there was a lessening of the fact that he wouldn't go into Eretz Yisrael means that he was being told he's going to have to resign, so to speak.
Okay.
So let's just say the
He's going to have to resign before they go to Eretz Yisrael. I mean, and his resigning was very final because he died.
Yes.
All right. Now,
Rabbi
you see, now Denise, now she can get on. So that's interesting.
But even on a personal level, if you do the Parsha every day, you often find something during the day that relates to what you just learned. Very often.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's inevitable.
So let's just try and discuss what's going on here. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody really understands what Moshe Rabbeinu did wrong. All the commentators are.
Wait, I'm sorry.
All the commentators are confused. Hi, hello. All the commentators are confused why what Moshe Rabbeinu did actually wrong. Okay, and they really wrestle with this. And I mentioned on front of a talk saying about there's a famous Or HaChaim, which one of the great commentators says that. He brings like numerous reasons, 18 or 28 different reasons of different commentators who explain what exactly Moshe Rabbeinu did wrong. Because it's not even clear, even hitting the rock, speaking to the rock. Many people dismiss that. Okay, but anyway, the Or HaChaim himself dismisses all of the other 18 or 28 explanations, and then he brings his own. Right. So I think in a way, and I was just thinking today that it fits very, very appropriately in Parshas Chukas, because Parshas Chukas is about what? It's about a mitzvah that nobody really gets, nobody understands, as we've just explained. So here, the very fact that Moshe was not allowed to go and tear its throat also is like, excuse me, well, after what he did, okay, so he didn't speak to the rock, right? He hit the rock. I mean, he hit the rock 40 years before. That was no problem. In fact, Hashem told him to hit the rock 40 years before. Sorry?
No, I don't know. I was like thinking, I didn't even know which rock.
Exactly. Exactly. Apparently,
rock,
the rock went for kind of a walkies, which is very strange. You look at Rashi.
No hints or anything, was there?
What?
There was no direction to which rock.
Yes, the rock kept moving.
Yeah.
It moved around, and it's very. Even if you read Rashi, it doesn't really. Rashi says he hit, like he said, because the Jews were saying, like they hit. Basically, oh no, they spoke to the rock. What happened? I'll just explain here this Rashi, okay? That Rashi says actually, if you want to follow it from chapter on verse 10, he says he got everybody together, right? They didn't recognize the rock that had been traveling with them apparently, or the spring that had been traveling with them all the previous 40 years. When that spring kind of left and stopped after the death after Miriam, because she passed away also in this parsha, right? Right? So they didn't know which rock to talk to, right? And therefore the Jewish people said to them, "Oh, come on, who cares what rock it is? You know what to do. You do your bit, and out comes the water. Come on, stop messing around." And Moshe Rabbeinu I paraphrase, I sort of tend to paraphrase what's going on here, right? And Moshe turns to them and says, "You fools, you crazy people, you joking?" And that was one they say he insulted the Jewish people. That's another say that he was punished because he insulted them. He called them idiots, fools. Like, you think we can take water from any rock that Hashem didn't tell us to do it? You're bonkers, right? That's basically effect. I also paraphrase, right? But that, if in effect, and they right, and you're just very stubborn people, right? And then what happened? Can we do it from this rock? So, and then it says they hit it twice. So the verse says, Rashi goes on and says, at first, they only came out a few drips. Well, that wasn't really impressive. You've got 3 million people. Can't have, one drop each is not going to go very far. The Fisha Loitziva, and here's what Rashi, this is one of the most difficult Rashis, in my opinion, in the Chumash. The 3 lines from the bottom of the second column, if you like, on the left-hand side of page 994. Because the Fisha Loitziva Amokam Lahakoise Eladibat Masel. Hashem said, don't hit it, talk to it, right? So they spoke to a rock, but that was the wrong rock because the other rock had moved away. So they were speaking to the wrong rock, right? And therefore, nothing happened. Hold on, wait a minute. Omru, they said, Shema Tzorach Lakosa. So they thought, well, something's a bit strange here, nothing's working, so perhaps maybe we do need to hit it after all, because it wasn't working. Yes? Right? Because originally it says that you should hit. And his Daman Lahem Oysa Seller. Then the rock suddenly appeared to them and plonked itself in front of them when they hit. And when he hit, he didn't hit another rock, he hit that rock that had gone and come back. Okay, sorry. Okay.
This is not even midrash.
Huh? No, this is well. No, okay, now what's going on here? And then finally Hashem says, right, you hit the rock, and then the water started coming out, and then he says, and the next verse he says over the page, Ya'an lo emantem bi sheni le'nei bnei Yisrael, lo ken lo yisrael bnei Yisrael el ha'oretz Hashem asotrim. Because you didn't sanctify me, you didn't believe in me to sanctify me in front of the Jewish people. That's it. You're no good. And Rashi says, I'll just paraphrase here now. Rashi says, because you should, if you would have spoken to the rock, then the Jewish people would have learnt what we call a kal v'chomer, which basically means they would have made a logical inference. But what's the logical inference they would say like this? That if the stone, which doesn't hear and doesn't see and doesn't need a parnasa, doesn't need to pay the bills, listens, right? Because if Moshe would speak to it and it gives forth water, which it doesn't, it's not really supposed to do, doesn't usually do, then we Jews, how much more so, we hear, we listen, we need to pay the bills, we need to follow what Hashem says. How much more so should we listen to Hashem when he tells us A, B, C, to do the mitzvah, do this mitzvah, that mitzvah, the other mitzvah. So understand? That was the logical inference. So because they didn't, Moshe did not speak to the rock, they couldn't learn that logical inference. Do you understand? And therefore Hashem was upset. He didn't sanctify him. Okay, that is the Rashi. Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, is this after they were able to identify which rock it was?
No, they did not.
They just were supposed to speak to.
But they was. That's what Rashi says. They didn't. They couldn't identify because it went.
Oh,
but
right.
It came back when they went to hit the rock. Suddenly, it came back, and they hit the rock that they were supposed to have spoken to. They didn't recognize which rock. I mean, the whole thing is like all over this. It is mind-boggling. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah, exactly. One rock. Well, that's what the Jews were saying. Come on, one rock, this rock, that rock. You guys are great magicians, hocus pocus. Come on, do your shot, do your Tommy Cooper. Just like that. It doesn't say Sutton.
No, but why would it move?
Why would it move? Exactly. Why would it move? So go figure it out. Why would it move? Got nothing better to do. I'll just go for a walk now. I'm a bit bored of just waiting for thousands of years. I decided to go for a walk. I mean, rocks don't go for walks. They enjoy sitting around for thousands of years doing nothing, sitting in the sun. That's like their pleasure, machaya. They sit in suntan for thousands of years, doing nothing, not going anywhere. And suddenly this rock goes somewhere, and then it's not weird enough that it went for walkies. It decides to come back.
Uh-huh.
So no wonder people don't understand exactly what's going on, what this is about, right? Now, even this kal v'chomer, which is a very logical idea of understanding something, yes, you infer something from, if I walk 25 miles for the last 6 years, every single Sunday, so this Sunday I should at least be able to walk 5 miles. Yes? That's a kal v'chomer. Yeah, that's a logical inference. Yes, that's what we call a kal v'chomer. So if the stupid rock which doesn't hear, doesn't see, and yet it listens. Oh, I spoke to it, and it gave forth its water. Did something that, right? So how much more so should we Jews, so the Jews, listen to Hashem? We do hear, we do see. We do need to pay the bills. We do need Hashem. We need to be taka in sync with Hashem. How much more so should we listen to Hashem? So because they didn't learn that, yeah.
Can I ask you though, after reading so much about Moshe Rabbeinu's great achievements, okay,
yeah,
that this becomes like his downfall.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's another.
He did
problem.
So much.
I know.
And it's nothing.
Oh, we're going to speak about that in a minute. Okay. I will speak about that in a minute. Let's just try and understand. No, okay, I'll mention that now, actually. Some say, or some unfortunately say, in the Midrash says, if I'm not mistaken, that the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu was not allowed to go into Eretz Israel. There's two basic reasons that we can mention. One is the fact that, in a sense, he would not have wanted it. He himself would not have wanted it. Why would he not have wanted it? Because what happened to the generation that he brought out of Egypt? What happened to them?
They all died.
They were dying. That was his generation. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's generation. Do you understand? And for him to go to Eretz Israel and not be with them, like it'd be like a hollow sort of victory, a hollow joy. He's going to Eretz Israel. Everybody else died. It's okay, Joshua, and the ladies. The ladies all made it.
But there was,
And the
but there's still,
yeah. Actually, Levium. No. Levium, I don't know. Meraglim. It says the golden calf. They didn't participate. Not sure about the Meraglim. I don't know. This is all Levium all did not die.
Because they died. They died when the earth opened up.
No, that was only the Korach.
That's correct.
That was Korach and his mates. That wasn't all the Levium. No.
No, so
Okay.
it was only those Levium that participated.
Yes.
So the other Levium.
What? No, we're not talking about. I'm talking about the Meraglim, the spies, which caused the people to die in the desert. I don't remember reading that the Levium actually did not sin with that. I'm not sure. But anyway, hold on. We're trying to answer one question at a time here. So that was one view, right? That Hashem didn't want to allow him to go in because he would feel that he couldn't. He's not with his generation, not with his people. He had such love for that generation. It couldn't happen. Another explanation is that if he would have gone to Eretz Israel, so of course what would happen? He would build a temple. Moshe Rabbeinu would build a temple. Now what's the problem building a temple? Well, nothing's really a problem, but the problem, of course, that whatever Moshe Rabbeinu did, whatever he made, is forever, is permanent. Not everything else. Normally when you build things, they're temporary, but not Moshe Rabbeinu. It says, Maisi de Moshe Nitzchi. Whatever Moshe Rabbeinu does is Nitzchi. It's eternal. So what? That's nice. He'll have the temple forever. No problem. Why did Hashem destroy the temple?
Because we loved each other.
Because the Jewish people sinned. I think that's what you meant. Because the Jewish people sinned. Now, and Hashem, what he did was, maybe if the Jewish people sinned, but how come he didn't destroy the Jewish people? So he vented his wrath on the mortar and the bricks of the building, the base of English. And that was a substitute and saved us. So we could go on, live another day in the temple, be rebuilt. So that's why we were saved. Why should I who built the temple? The temple could not have been destroyed. Moshe says, whatever he does is eternal.
Oh.
So therefore, it would have been curtains for the Jewish people.
We might not have sinned then if we had Moshe Rabbeinu, unless he would have died eventually.
Well, I'm just sharing with you what the Medrash says. Yeah. Okay, we can have a whole shiur on this and a whole debate.
No, I'm just thinking he wouldn't have lived that long.
Okay, you're right. And there are other places that say that if Moshe would have gone in with them, that would have been Mashiach. Build the temple, finished. That's it. End of story. End of history. So okay, it's different. Yeah, but maybe there is a situation where we still don't lose our freedom to sin, and whatever. I'm not sure. I don't quite get that either. But let me ask you something else now. Let's go back to our original Kal V'chomer. What do you mean Kal V'chomer? A stone? I mean, compare a stone to a human being. What kind of a Kal V'chomer is that? How could you say a Kal V'chomer? Just as a stone is a stone, so a human being, how much more so with a human being? A stone doesn't have any free choice. There's no free choice. A person has a free choice. So how could you compare the two? So here, just to share with you something I heard this week, and I think this is based on the writings of the Maharaj. And the difference between, hitting and speaking. Hitting and speaking. Now, there is a whole discussion, I'm not going to go into it now, about the idea that when it comes to education, first sometimes there's a stage one, we mentioned this before, that sometimes you may need to strike a child in order to teach it before you can reason with him. Right? I mean, I know it's not now so.
Modern.
Now it's not.
Modern.
Thank you. It's not so politically correct now. You have to think twice and three times and four times.
But if he's running in the road, you will.
Exactly. If a kid runs in the road, exactly. No, there was a guy. Yes, he says I saw a father let his kid into the road. He says, Mike, I want my kid to remember the pain because he's ran into the road. I can't explain to him. He's not going to understand what's going on here. Anyway, but when they get older, they talk, right? Now, also, when it comes to miracles, there's a miracle where nature is suspended, splitting the Red Sea. Wow. Hashem comes along and smashes the nature, right? I mean, and so what happens? Nature's being overruled by Hashem. Yes? The plagues. Right, this splitting of the sea, hitting the rock, the water coming out, as we just said before. Rocks do not normally do anything but sit there and right. And here they don't just produce water like that. So here is an open miracle. There's a higher level of a miracle, where the miracle expresses itself in nature itself, where nature just does it naturally. Have you ever heard of Shiur?
Yeah.
Yes, Shiur is a sort of a beautiful work explaining how all the animals, what they do, how what they say, what they do, is a way of praising Hashem. It's an amazing thing. Normally, in the world, we have a principle called entropy. If you know this, physics 101. It's a basic idea that the natural order of the world, this is a physical law. Everything tends towards disorder. There's a natural disorder of everything. This is a physical thing. It's not just if you leave your bedroom for 3 days, it becomes a bit of a wreck. If you leave it for a week, it's not going to become miraculously tidy. Or 2 weeks, it'll become really tidy, right? The more you leave it, right, the more of a wreck it becomes, which is a beautiful thing of Shabbos, I guess, where you have a reboot of the house, you get everything in order, right? But normally the physics is that everything tends towards disorder. Disorder. Energy dissipation. But look at nature. Exact opposite. There's a whole order within nature. And even to make evolution, it doesn't make sense. Evolution doesn't make sense because everything is natural. It's supposed to be becoming more disorderly. They have a real problem with that. They turn head over heels to try and figure that one out, the evolutionists, because it doesn't fit in the whole physics of the universe. Oh, it's different. It's different when it comes to nature. Yeah, it's different. Why is it different? Nobody explains. Nobody really explains. He tried to. It's a fudge. But the truth is because the world and nature is alive. It is alive. And everything is dance, an expression of nature's connection with Hashem. Birds chirping, the animals doing this, doing that, everything they do. So in a sense, there's two ways of in a sense, trying to connect with Hashem. One is that you kind of, you crush yourself, you overrule you with a stick. You know what I'm saying? And then you can talk to yourself, perhaps. You can try and put yourself in sync with Hashem in a way that you just breathe, breathe. You're in sync with Hashem. That's the idea of the Bartim itself. That is a whole different level of relating to Hashem, in a sense. And this is that was what, in a sense, was called upon, at the time. But that is, that's just a certain lesson that we should learn. And it's something we should perhaps aspire to, that to go beyond the idea of, forcing yourself. I mean, obviously, sometimes you have to force yourself. If you need to, you have to force yourself, right? Once you're used to doing something, you don't need to force yourself anymore, right? You just do it by habit, right? a habit, yeah. But then you want to maybe do something, and we serve Hashem in the sense of the dibartim. It's not about. It's just trying to understand if all of nature does it. If all of nature, of course, all of nature doesn't have free choice, but still we can exercise that free choice to act in a way to try and be in sync, so to speak, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is a whole different ballgame. And that, in a sense, what Hashem wanted Moshe to try and teach the Jewish people. And that went askew. That went off. But it's still a very important lesson we should learn. So, any questions on what I said? I think we've run out of time actually now.
I just wanted to ask you: is there a Rashi that addresses Moshe Rabbeinu's rebuttal to the mockery?
No, he
calling them a rebels.
No, Rashi says that's what.
No, but does he address it? Because I don't remember reading it.
No, it's actually, if you want to read it, it's actually verse 11. He says quite clearly. Rashi says, he's called Lochin Amar Lahem Hamoirim. He calls them Shimono Hamoirim. Now, Moirim is a bit of a weird word because Moira, what's Moirim? Teacher. More. Right? Morim is teachers in the right? But here Rashi says Loshan Yavoni. It's a Greek word. Shoitim.
Oh,
Idiots. Yeah, that's what Rashi says. Moirim es moirehen. You're basically rebelling against, I guess that's where your teacher. Who's your teacher? Is Hashem. And that's what he was saying. Will you take them? So that is a Rashi. Rashi himself says this. Yeah. So pretty strong language. So he got very frustrated with them. And in a sense, sometimes, you get frustrated, you get a bit angry. Later on, in a sense, Moshe Rabbeinu said, in Devarim, I think he sort of says, because you guys messed up, it kind of dragged me down with you. You know what I mean? And it was very frustrating. Well, absolutely. They could have actually, apparently, although we'll learn that perhaps later on, but they could have saved the theirs had the Jewish people paid for Moshe. They go into Eretz Yisrael to pray for it. In Parsha's verse coming, Moshe Rabbeinu wistfully says, and he sort of bitterly tells him, says, I was always davening for you, but you guys never davened for me. It's very strong. Parsha's verse coming. It's this Midrashim, so it's this. It was a very, very, very strong. It's not, it doesn't say in the Chumash. There's not Rashi. This is a Midrashim, but nevertheless, very strong words. And Moshe understood. Praying for himself, he didn't stop davening for himself to go into Eretz Yisrael. But after a while, that wasn't becoming a problem. Parents decided he's not going to give, the bike to Johnny. He's decided that's it. So how much more can Johnny say? Oh, please. It gets boring. But if all the other brothers and sisters would say, "Oh, come, let me say, come, let me say," then maybe they would have, Anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you for coming. And special welcome to our two Miriams who flew. Yeah, Basha's Miriam, the Bersha Miriam.
You'll be able to spend some time?
Yeah, she's coming to the.
I'm coming to Dublin.
She's coming to.
I am invited to the board because they told me there's so two, so I just stay till one or two. I guess.
Yeah, well, that'll be just good.